flesh has the ability to defeat you, but your spirit has the ability to grant you overcoming power and victory. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 3 of Shelach Lecha. I'm still stuck on the idea of these spies that enter into the land and bring back a false report. Something struck me. They returned carrying on a pole between themselves, evidence of the fruit of the land that was enormous, overwhelming, gigantic. And the whole time that they were bringing back the fruit into the land, back to Israel for them to see the evidence, in their minds they were thinking, this is fruit we can't have. Think about that. They were exhibiting the evidence of the promise of Yahweh to Am Israel. And all the while they're thinking, we will never reap this kind of fruit. We can't have what the evidence proves to be the promise of Yah to us. It boggles the mind. It's overwhelming to me that everything that the Father said about the land, they acknowledged to be true. It's a good land. It does have an abundance. It does flow with milk and honey. Look at this evidence of fruit. It's overwhelming to us. But we can't have it. Why? Because there are giants in the land. The question has to be asked, did they actually believe that they were just going to waltz into the land and that the inhabitants were going to say, oh, you guys are here now. Well, we're going to pack up and walk away. Did they not believe that they were going to have to fight? And I have to be careful when I use such phrasing, because there are some among us that would relish the opportunity to grab the gun and go blast something or someone. That's not what I'm advocating. But do we believe that we're going to get into the land without a fight? A spiritual fight? It could come down to a physical fight. And if that's necessary, the Father will show us when, how, and where, and who. But our first efforts must be in prayer and in seeking Him and walking out what He gives to us. It overwhelms me as well to hear people talk about they. Who are they? These are the folks that are going to overwhelm us, take everything from us. These are the organizations that are out to get us. And who are we talking about? Well, it depends on who you ask. It could be the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, the ATF, the CDC, the WHO. On and on the alphabets go. That's a small and short list. There is certainly efforts of organizations, legit and illegit, that are out to get us. Let me give you some other letters. How about Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey? If Yah is for us, who can stand against us? When Yahweh is on our side, or more importantly, when you and I are on His side, it's not that we have or we are looking for Him to give credibility to what we say or think, but rather that we have discerned His heart, His will, His way, His plan, and we are involving ourselves in that. One thing we can be assured of is that it's going to work. When God says this is how it's going to be, count on it. This is how it's going to be. But all of these entities, all of these alphabets, all these powerful things, they're poisoning our food. They're going to poison our water. They're not going to give us any food, and they're not going to give us any water. What are we going to do? How are we going to? There are a lot of things that are unknown and things that are unseen. There are days of trouble that are certain. Yeshua warned us about these days. The prophets have described these days. Yochanan, in the book of the Revelation of Yeshua, wrote about these things. But think about that title again. It's not just the book of Revelation. It is the book of the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah. All of the tragic events that we see unfold in that overwhelming book describe the process by which Yeshua the Messiah will be and has been revealed. Days of trouble have always appeared. We are not the first generation that have struggled with these things. If we would go back just a few generations, someone who was born around the year 1900, then they would have been almost in service age for World War I. They would have seen the indulgences of the 1920s. They would have read the headlines about gangsters and bank robbers glorified and running around the Midwest stealing and killing and looting. They would have been a part of the Great Depression. They would have seen all the banks failing and the panic that would have hit. People standing in bread lines. They would have known the horrors of World War II and the threat of Nazism taking over the entire earth. They would have seen the end result of hundreds of thousands of men and women coming back home, scarred from the battles and struggling to be reintegrated effectively into society. They would have seen the boom slowly build in the 1950s, but that was not a great era as well. In the 1960s, they would have seen the emergence of the drug culture and rioting in the streets and the breaking down of college campuses. They were seeing the economy crash and the energy dilemmas of the 1970s. They would have had to endure Watergate and the corruption of government being revealed at a level that we had not estimated. They would have endured the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther. They would have seen all of these things tragically in their lives, yet they believed, they trusted. There was generations of people who went to service regularly and worshiped and walked a righteous life. If they can do it, and they did, so can you and I. There's always been trouble. There's always been circumstances to overwhelm us. But those who walk by the Spirit and not the flesh will bring home the fruit on a pole and rejoice in saying, the land is ours. The Father has promised it to us, and we're going to go get it. This is what we can have. Well, my friend, the fruit that we're seeing is the emergence of the bride of Mashiach. This is who we can become. And the advent of the coming of the kingdom is surely right in front of us. This is what we can have. Are you going to be a spy to go in and find all the reasons why you can't? Or are you going to be a surveyor and go in and look around and say, this is the promise? The choice is up to you. As for me and my house, we will believe in Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, and let the alphabet just become soup. Until tomorrow, shalom.